In a research paper, thesis, or project, you will find yourself having to introduce sections or themes and sub-themes. And it's important to have an introductory paragraph and not just launch into a section, particularly if the section is complicated with 7 or 8 themes. If you just jump in and talk about theme 1 and theme 2 and theme 3, it's hard for the reader to get a big picture. So having that introductory paragraph prepares the reader for what's coming ahead. Not dissimilar to when you read a chapter in a textbook where they tell you these areas will be covered. Although in this case, you'll be repeatedly doing this for large sections. So let me give you an example. In this specific example, the student is introducing previous literature reviews. So instead of just starting with the reviews, there's this short introductory paragraph which prepares the reader. 4 previous literature reviews have been conducted focusing on early childhood education and technology, and each of the studies is listed. Each of these reviews will be discussed in turn. And they are. So this is the first review, and then talk about the second review, and it continues. So that's a nice, simple way to introduce a section. In the second example, the student is looking at impact of technology on learning and early childhood education. And there's an introductory paragraph for the subsection literacy. And so it goes on to say this category is included 16 studies that describe the use of technology to support the development of a wide range of literacy skills. And so the student is setting up what's going to be discussed ahead, including phonological awareness, vocabulary development, concepts of print, reading comprehension, and general literacy. So those 5 areas will be discussed. And then the student talks about that there's some overlap in the studies. So what you expect then here is phonological awareness, and that's the first section here that is discussed. In this case, it's kind of complicated, so there's another introductory paragraph because phonological awareness comprised of quite a few studies. So 10 studies here. So 10 studies address phonological awareness, or the ability to analyze the sound structure of language. And then specific sub-skills include the ability to break words into syllables, smaller units of sound, as well as the ability to blend sounds. So that's sort of an overview paragraph. Again, it's just introductory. It's telling the reader what's going to be coming ahead. Here's another variance here when there's a few studies to be discussed. So it's a way to introduce 2 or 3 studies. So it says here, this is focusing on numeracy. In contrast to the number of studies focusing on literacy, which is 16, only 3 studies focused on numeracy. 1 study was based on robotics, while the other 2 examined specific online learning programs. So that's an introduction, a general introduction to these. And then the student actually talks about each of these specific studies in a paragraph each. So that works quite well. There's a kind of an overview statement about the studies and what they're focusing on. So it prepares the reader, and then each study is talked about in detail. This is a big picture introduction to the actual entire literature review. So it starts out, this literature review provides the context of information literacy development, followed by a description of a framework that results from this study. So the student is reviewing certain areas of information literacy and presenting a framework. Notice that there's actually a visual here, which is a great way to introduce a review of the literature, just to give the reader a really big picture. So the student talks about the first section focuses on the evolution of information literacy, definitions of information literacy, and it goes on to list each subsection. And then the second section reviews and proposes a new framework for understanding information by outlining the major dimensions, and those dimensions are presented in Figure 1. So that's another way to introduce a section, in this case, the actual entire paper. So there's a number of ways you can do this, but you really need to have that introductory paragraph to prepare the reader for complex sections that are difficult to follow if you just jump right into them.